Welcome. 6 months to 6,000. We are back. It is October. We are at the midpoint of growing our channel. And man, we are just killing it over here.
I think it's real life.
So
we
Carter,
knew it was going to be tough.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I feel like I'm on an upswing. I think we knew when back in June when we were in Idaho, we knew that the first few months were going to be tough with a move, with a baby, and it was just about persevering. And so I tried to do what I could do, get the move, get the baby, and then just get used to it. I mean, he'll be 7 weeks in 2 days. So, really less than like a day and a half. And so it's like, man, it's been a long time. I mean, almost 2 months of that. And then the month before that, we just moved. So I feel really good about where we are. I think it's going to be interesting because now it's really like 6,000 in 3 months. Pretty much. And then it's like, okay, well, let's do those things. And now I'm at a point where it's okay. I'm in my new studio. I've got everything set up, and those were all issues that were kind of roadblocks. They don't seem like big roadblocks, but when you've been working all day on other projects and you're like, I need to record or I need to do something, you're like, I just have a blank wall and I don't really have my lighting set up, and it's not great right now, but it's better than it was. And I was like, okay, it's good enough. Let's go. And so I don't have any more excuses. Everything's set up and I can just come in here and record a video and go.
So let's talk about some of those blocks, because obviously you got over your initial blocks to record one or two of your first videos before baby Noah came. And you kind of had some momentum. You did that 8-hour long live session. You were rolling. You were interviewing people. You kind of had that momentum. And then explain a little bit about how the fear kind of crept in, because getting started is one of the hardest things, and getting that momentum to just continue to go. What kind of crept back in and kind of slowed you back down again?
So I just put out a video this morning at like 2:33 a.m. And I have 45-ish. Yeah, right. I was like, I'm putting one out, and we'll talk about that more later. But I just looked at some of the analytics before we went live, and I had 7 watches in the first hour from like 2 to 3 a.m. Eastern. And I was like, I must be people from out west, because there were people from out west in the community. But I was using that sort of as a springboard at the other house, kind of planning to move, like, okay, I'm going to plan this other set of series of videos. And then the move got going. And then it was like, do you really want to talk about that? You need to be professional. And it was like, I'm not good enough, or, things aren't right, or I need to do this, or this needs to be better, instead of just prioritizing. We could have moved here. I could have said, I need to set this studio up first.
Yeah, it was kind of an environment, an unstable environment to record, and you were not sure about, I think a lot of people get stuck on the unknowns, right? Where it's like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to go somewhere and record, right? It's like, I got to set up my stuff, and I don't know if I have the lights or the mic or the computer, and like that unknown just kind of prevents people from starting, right?
Yeah, and I think too, it was like it was a guilty feeling. Like, we're moving into a new house. My wife is 8 months plus pregnant. And so am I going to spend a day setting up my studio or my little area, or am I going to spend a day, organizing this, or all the different house projects that I needed to get done? And it was like, there were things that needed to get done, and I just said, well, I can put myself in the back, and I'll do it later. And then day by day, by week, by month. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like, we gotta do this. And that's what this weekend was. It was like, okay, get it all knocked out. And now we're here, and it's like, looking back on it, I could have done this 6 weeks ago. I could have done this 8 weeks ago and then been ready to make videos. I don't know if I was ready to make videos, because then once you get out of it, then you start kind of in your own head. Nobody cares. They're better at this than I am. Or, I'm going to get canceled, but I'm going to say something stupid. Whatever, anything that mine, and then you watch all these videos, and I'm like, these people they're just doing videos. Why can't you just do a video? Just do a video. So last night I was like, I'm doing a dang video. I cannot come to you and say I haven't done a video. And I finally edited it to some degree. And then I got so deliriously sleepy, and I was like, I gotta upload this thing. Like I gotta save it, and I gotta upload it. And so this morning, and then of course the baby's up, so anyway.
Oh man, so you're like editing it. What time at night?
2:33 a.m.
So you're editing around that time, and Noah wakes up, and you're like, oh yeah, I got it. I'm here.
Yeah, so I'm up, Lisa's up, baby's up, dog's up. It's like, hey, how's it going? It's cool. It's 3:30 in the morning, so like I went to bed between 3:30 and 4, and then we were up at like 7:30.
Sounds normal.
And then you're like, I can't even function, and then Lisa's got to do all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And then my in-laws and my wife's grandmother has flown over from Germany, so then they're all speaking German today in the house, and I'm like, what happened?
Hey, so you got some time. You got your new studio. I like your little backdrop there. Could you explain what that is in the background there?
I will. I'm going to tell you this one thing that I was going to finish. And what I realized today, because I went back and I looked at my video, and I was like, I didn't even think to make a thumbnail. I was just like, upload to YouTube, just hurry up. And then it's like processing, and it takes it took like an extra 25 minutes, and I was just like, I'm just falling asleep. I was like, I gotta hit post. I gotta get it up. And then I was so tired and doing everything else. And then I looked at it this afternoon or this evening, and I was like, I didn't even put a thumbnail on that. It didn't even cross my mind to do all of that. But I edited some of the stuff out and shortened it by 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. So I was like, okay, that was good to get that muscle going. And so I'm looking forward to, cranking out some more videos and some more content and just trying to get it back going. I'm like, let's give it a good run. I'm not at the point where I'm going, hey, 6 months to 6,000. We didn't really crank it the first 3 months, so let's just quit. Let's go. It just makes the challenge more difficult.
Right. Since we're halfway through and it looks like we're getting a slow start, let's talk about some ways that we can accelerate. And
sure.
All the viewers of this can benefit from this as well. These are some tactics that can really help you get followers quickly. Okay. You ready?
All right. Yeah.
All right. Do you know what the topic of your next video is?
Yes.
Okay. What problem is it solving for your viewer?
It's entertainment.
Okay. So what?
In terms of a problem, so it's just basically, it's going to be about the political ads, and I feel like the political ads are just so silly because I feel like so it's sort of a parody, but it's also a conversation of why, who watches a political ad and goes, huh, that's unbiased, and I'm probably, that person, is terrible.
Okay.
Paid for by the other person.
So the topic is bias in political ads.
There you go. I like that.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I want you to go right now, and actually we should probably do this. I don't know if we can do this for real. I don't know if you can share your screen, but if you can pull up YouTube, and I'll do it too.
YouTube.
Yeah, pull up YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So if you're typing in bias in political ads, notice the titles here. So we have political media's bias in a single chart. Okay. Why political ads demonize over inform. Do political ads on TV actually work? And the top 5 campaign ads of the 2016 election cycle. Okay. So around this keyword phrase, bias in political ads, these are the top 4 videos. And of course I could scroll down and find more, right? So
Sure.
it looks like what it's doing is after the first 3, it's getting into actual like year election cycle, like 2016, 2020, 2016. What you're going to do, and look at the view counts on these. So the number one is 410,000 views from 3 years ago, 5,100 views from 4 months ago, and then 56,000 from 7 years ago. 294,000 from 5 years ago. So we can quickly see that like these videos range in 7 years to 4 months to 7 years, and they range from 5,000 to almost a 500,000, right? So what we're gonna do on this exercise is we're going to figure out which one of these titles we want to model our video around. And we might even watch some of these, the closest ones to us. And we are going to go into, a little bit of each of these videos. We're going to break down, what are they talking about? How are they structured? What topics do they cover? And we might even read some of the comments on them, right? To find things that people are saying. So if I scroll down here, this guy says ABC, NBC, CNN, Bloomberg, and CBS ranked as neutral. Laugh my off, right? I've officially lost all faith in so-called journalism. Wow. And these are only like a year ago, 2 years ago. So 11 months ago. So what you could do is you can kind of find like once you map out this video, you can actually go into the comments to see what the reactions are and what maybe you could have missed, right? What you're doing is you're making a brief back of the napkin outline. So you're writing the title down word for word, and then you're writing like, this is the basic structure of these videos. This is what they're talking about. Here's how long the videos are. Here's what they're structured. It's just a brief outline, right? And then you might pick up in the comments, what are these people missing? Okay. Now you take that data and you take what you were going to do, and you either do one of two things. You either record a video that covers the same outline but better, and you add your own things and modifications to it, or you find out that they missed a completely different angle on it, and you have a similar title but you put that angle into it, right? So you use the same kind of words, but you put your spin on it or your angle on it, and you cover what the comments are saying that the video missed, right? All you're really doing in this strategy, whatever it is that you're covering, whatever topic, is you're taking videos that are already getting served up to people that are searching for the similar topics, and you're stepping in front of that traffic.
Yep. So this is like what Sam Parr was saying with Reddit.
Yeah, so you're essentially either going to get recommended in the top of people that search for that phrase, or when somebody watches one of those videos, you're going to get recommended, right? After that video plays, or
So
in
you're
the
just
bottom
trying to
of the
get
sidebar.
you're just trying to get connections.
Yeah. And so you're trying to tell people like, hey, I am also talking about this topic that you are interested in, and I have a relevant take on it. And you're informing yourself on the top videos on that topic because you are going to target that keyword, right? Under 12 minutes is probably a good thing to shoot for. Let's see what some of the links are on some of these.
Like 4 minutes, 9 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a long one. This is more, yeah.
And usually your watch time is about average, half of however long the video is. So, if you want to beat them in watch time, just make it a little bit longer and you'll get like, 5 or 6 minutes if it's a 12-minute video, right? Yep. So, but just record it until it's done, and then see if that doesn't help you get in front of more people organically. So that's the tip. That's the goal for today, to try to start getting you in front of new people.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that gives me some more focus on, all right, like not just doing my own videos. It's like, okay, well, what is that? Like, is that going to bring a whole lot of traffic? And then it's like, I was thinking about it as you were going through it. It's like, that's not a very big traffic mover, but it's just content. And at some point, just getting content out every day, like not every video is going to be a smash hit. And so, you're a musician, you have a background in that. Not every song is a number one. So right. you got to make a CD.
Yep.
And,
but I mean, if you got even 5,000 views on the lowest one that was 4 months old, 5,000 views is better than 3 views, right?
Yeah. And at least in the way I do math. I don't know about the Common Core.
Yeah. But what it is you start stacking those kind of videos, right? And yep. If you get good at it. Now, the other thing to keep in mind too is look at the thumbnails, right? So sometimes these thumbnails are boring. Sometimes you can really now it's hard to compete with what looks like a really complicated graph and it says in a single chart. That's interesting. Then you are competing with a picture of, Trump, and then you're competing with Obamacare and it looks like an ad. So it's like, okay, maybe you can do a face-on video pointing at something that, is interesting, and you will actually beat all of these thumbnails, right? So now you're winning on thumbnail and you're getting in with the title.
This kind of leads me to like a secondary level of gaming for like maybe next week, of like putting out, okay, I need to do some research on like what are some hot topics to then move into, to try to, because this whole strategy sounds like it's based off of like what's popping now, like what are people watching, because like
not really, it's more around going backward from what your video is already going to be about. Okay. You can go the other way. Now, if you just type in youtube.com and see what they're recommending to you and do the same thing we just did on those videos, that's where you're stepping in front of like what YouTube thinks is hot right now. But it might not be what you even want to talk about. That's why I'm saying start with what you already know you're going to have a video on, and then kind of reverse engineer that, because you're actually going to be competing with these videos that you're searching.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
So you have to look at it from the standpoint of, if I'm somebody that cares about bias in political ads, then these are my options of entertainment for tonight. And I'm going to see like, which one am I going to click on? You may or may not be suggested, but if you are suggested, you want yours to be the one people click on, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So better thumbnail, better title.
Yep. And remember that the title, have curiosity, have some conflict, put two different ideas against each other, two different things that people, are not sure about, while still using the keywords, right? So the words that are first have more weight and more value, but you can craft it in a way where people want to lean in and like, well, I do want to know about that. Right? Like, what is that? Like, if you look at the first one there, it's political media's bias in a single chart. It's like, oh, well, I got to see this chart. It looks amazing. Like what?
Yeah, it looks like he worked hard on that.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's kind of curious, right? Like in a single chart, like what? I got to see that. And that is a famous video. Like I've even seen that video, and I don't, very fascinating, right? Because you can see like, oh, well, I read this, and this outlet. Where is it on the spectrum of conservative or liberal, right? Or, fact-based or not. Huh. But anyway, that's all you're trying to do. And that strategy alone, yes, you'll put in a little more time on your videos, but it'll pay off because you'll get a lot more chances of getting in the recommendation engine than not.
Yeah. So you're just, instead of just throwing stuff blindly out there, you're like, hey, I'm going to tweak this just, a little, and it may take 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever, an hour, but you're trying to grow the channel, or I'm trying to grow this channel, so got to work on it.
Yep.
Can't just put it out there.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I have to take the same advice, right? It's hard for me in this kind of format show to even know what the topics are going to be about. So it's like,
sure,
I got to kind of reverse engineer it as well. I have to fight the urge to be an artist, right? It's kind of that balance between like, well, I want to name this something cool versus like, no, you got to name it what people are actually going to want to like watch, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting thing when you're just like, oh, I mean, I'm an interesting person in my own mind, right? Because we all think we're interesting because we're all interested in like whatever we're interested in. We're like, oh, everybody else must be interested in that. And most people just aren't. They're not interested in whatever that is. And we can waste hours on it ourselves. And so then you're like, oh, well, I'm interested in this. I'm going to make a video on that. And then you're just like, okay, and crickets. Well, that was awesome that I got to talk about it to myself.